Next to me is the AMG GT Black Series, the fastest road-going car around the Nürburgring of all time. That's right, it's not a 1,000 horsepower hypercar, it's this, the most aggressive track-focused Mercedes ever made. The Black Series is powered by a 4-liter twin-turbocharged V8, which is nothing new for Mercedes, except in this case, it's now a flat plane crank layout, which sounds amazing. It's also got lighter turbochargers. There's virtually no turbo lag on this car. All told, power sits at 720 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque sent through a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission just to the rear wheels. Despite being rear-wheel drive, it can still do 0 to 60 in just 2.9 seconds. But one of the coolest parts about the car's engine bay, despite all this awesome carbon fiber, and of course the name of the person who built the engine, is it actually has aerodynamic fins in the engine bay itself. You'll see later on, this car is all about aerodynamics. The GT Black Series looks amazing, but all of the aggressive looks have pure function for going around the track as fast as possible. It's actually got a 2-stage front splitter. This is in its street trim, and it can come out even further, manually adjustable for race trim for more downforce. If you come around to the side, we've got these beautiful canards, and then up here, we've got vented fenders to allow the turbulent air in the wheel well to exit out to reduce lift. We've also got a massive carbon fiber hood with additional vents to allow hot air to escape. It's the 6th Black Series in the lineup, following the SLS Black Series and a personal favorite of mine, the SL65 Black Series. You'll note it's got 19-inch wheels in the front and 20s in the rear, mated to bespoke Michelin Cup 2R tires that actually have little Black Series emblems on the side carved into the tire wall, which I think is really, really cool. You can also manually adjust the camber of the wheels up to 3 degrees. Now, in general, Black Series cars are wider and more aggressive looking. So to accentuate that, we've got this massive vent on the side, which looks brilliant, but it also allows clean air to travel alongside the side of the car to reduce drag as well. At the rear, we've got a wing so big it'd make pretty much any man self-conscious, and it even has this additional flap that can raise or lower to change levels of downforce and drag. In fact, at this car's top speed of 202 miles an hour, it produces 1,760 pounds of downforce, which is truly unbelievable. It's so much so that they had to add metal supports inside the trunk so that the wing didn't crush the car itself. We got this beautiful little Black Series logo right here. I love the rear taillights. And then coming down, look at this menacing carbon fiber rear diffuser for more downforce and beautiful quad exhaust. Now, a lot of people complain about the way the car sounds, saying it's too quiet from the factory. So I'd say, let's test that theory. The interior is littered with Alcantara and carbon fiber for weight savings, and it truly feels like a high-end premium vehicle inside here. I love the steering wheel, the paddles feel fantastic, and I love the mode adjuster, which you can use on the steering wheel itself. We're in Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, Race mode, but you can also adjust it individually over here in the center console. Now, we've got a fully digital instrument cluster, whereby you can actually change the layout. We're in Classic right now. Let's go to Super Sport, my personal favorite. That is pretty darn cool. We've also got this really cool looking traction control button, multi-stage, which with 720 horsepower and rear-wheel drive, we probably won't be turning that off today. The seats are very supportive. They're lightweight carbon fiber, but they're covered in this nice leather. But enough of that. Let's take it out for a drive, shall we? For those of you who say that the Black Series doesn't sound good, I beg you to drive one. Now, on the outside, it is a little bit tame and quiet, but on the inside, they pump in the induction noise, and it truly sounds phenomenal. Now, we've got my buddy Zach's Garage here in the passenger seat along with me, and the owner, Zencar Driver, in his Brabus Rocket 900. So special thanks to Zencar Driver for making this review possible. I've got a link to his Instagram in the description below. Instantly, when you hop behind the wheel of the Black Series, you realize this is something special. You know, Mercedes over the years has kind of been known for the ultimate luxury car that has a ton of power and can do crazy burnouts. But they've been proving over the years more recently that they are track weapons. This car has the record on the Nürburgring, not a Ferrari LaFerrari, not a Porsche 918 Spider, no, the AMG GT Black Series. And when you get behind the wheel, you really can tell why. The suspension is super, super firm. Now, unlike the GTR Pro that's manually adjustable suspension, we actually have electronically controlled suspension where you can change it right here in the center console. Now I'm in Sport, Sport Plus. We're gonna put it back into Comfort because on these roads, they're a little bit bumpy, and honestly, Comfort mode still rides really, really harsh. The steering feel is incredible in this car. It's really tight, very direct, provides a good amount of feedback, and honestly, it doesn't feel like a Mercedes, and I mean that in almost the best way possible. It has this almost Viper ACR feel to it, but with the precision and the excitement in the steering of not quite a Ferrari, but in that general direction. It's almost a hybrid of Lamborghini steering and Viper ACR hydraulic steering. We've got these beautiful metal paddles for that 7-speed dual clutch gearbox. In the past, Mercedes, especially with the SLS, the gearbox was a little bit slower than I'd like to sometimes. Sometimes it would deny shifts on upshifts or downshifts, but this is every bit as good as the Huracan STO's double clutch or the Porsche PDK. It's interesting comparing this car to a Huracan STO because used car prices, they're actually very similar in price. The MSRP of this car new in the United States starts at $327,000, which is a lot of money. But if you are lucky enough to get one at sticker, they're now trading hands for between $500,000 and $600,000, which is a heck of an awesome level of appreciation in just a short period of time. So congratulations to any of you who have already picked one up. Is it worth $500,000 or $600,000 now? That's a tricky one, and I'll wait till the end of the review to decide that for myself. But compared to the Huracan STO, this has so much more power. And despite the fact that that car is naturally aspirated, you don't really feel like you're losing anything because the turbochargers are so small and so responsive that it almost has a completely linear power band, and you don't really feel this surge of power when the turbos kick in. It's honestly all at once from low RPM, and the turbos don't eat away at the sound like, you know, an F8 Tributo or a 488 where it's a bit muted. Mercedes does such a good job of still having a lovely V8 soundtrack despite the fact that it is no longer naturally aspirated. Now, hopefully up ahead, we'll get some more space to run this thing through its paces a bit more. The seats really hold you in place and hug your shoulders. They are a little bit hard on the bottom, however. Steering wheel fits in your hands perfectly. I actually love the steering wheel on this car. The customizable digital instrument cluster is really nice as well. The multimedia system has great graphics, although thanks to Zach's suggestion, we've put it in a beautiful IWC analog clock, which just looks classy. We've got these tiny little air vents that are honestly oddly small, considering how big and beefy this car is. One of my favorite interior components has to be this traction control switch that, honestly, in a car that's not mine, that's right-hand drive in the countryside on these tiny little roads, it's rear-wheel drive. I don't really feel comfortable turning it off, but you don't really need to. You still get plenty of acceleration with traction control still on. Now, when you reach the rev limiter, it flashes red, which is really cool, so you can keep your eyes more on the road and you still know when to shift. Wow! I mean, in today's world where Tesla Plaids have 1,000 horsepower and these hypercars are coming out with 2,000 horsepower, I could see some people saying, and these are people likely who haven't driven any of these sports cars, oh, 720, that's not even that much for a car that costs this much. It is plenty. It is an absolute rocket ship and pushes you into the seat of your pants like crazy. Let's give it another go here once the road opens up. brakes are exceptional as well. Look how beautiful this scenery is. I feel like I'm both in the countryside and the jungle at the same time. But it definitely, got some nice pops back there. It definitely sounds really good. Unfortunately, when you roll the windows down, it doesn't get any louder because you are getting that direct pumped-in engine note. But I could imagine with an exhaust, it would sound absolutely insane. And with a tune, oh, this thing would be absolutely ballistic. Now, as part of the track pack, which apparently comes standard in the UK, you can get a full racing harness. You also get that full cage in the back, as well as a fire extinguisher in case things go awry. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I love the fit and finish of this car's interior. Mercedes always does a great job, whether it's their luxury cars like the S-Class or their supercars like the SLS, or in this case the AMG GT Black Series, of having a premium feel to it. They make no excuses. You have your creature comforts, you have Bluetooth, you have good air conditioning, you have comfortable seats and a full Alcantara roof. They're not saying, oh, just because it's a Black Series, we've gotten rid of every creature comfort that somebody, you know, is more likely to drive this on the road once a week or so than they are actually to take it to the track all the time. To the owners of these Black Series, please, I beg you to take it to the track. I'm sure it is absolutely sublime out there, but it does work as a road car as well. I will say it does feel very wide, so in a place like California, near where I live, wouldn't be an issue whatsoever, but on these small British roads, it seems like it fills the entirety of the road, and so you have very little room for error, whether you want to hit a head-on car collision or scrape the side of your car against a tree, neither of which I'm sure the owner or myself would appreciate doing. I will say this thing is a lot of fun to drive. Unfortunately, we've got a fair amount of traffic, so I'm unable to really push it, but even at slow speeds, I think that's what makes a car special. Just putting it around town, it feels like something great. You can tell that this is an absolute track monster. You can feel the V8 rumble in your pants. You can feel it everywhere in your body. I know that sounds a little bit weird. Yeah, not bad sun visors. Better than the SLS, for sure. Oh, yeah. Much bigger. All right, excellent improvement, Mercedes. I will say, if this car had gull-wing doors like the SLS, it would be one of the coolest cars ever made. It still is absolutely brilliant, and I think might be one of the best-looking Mercedes they've ever made. It just looks so aggressive, and I can imagine we're going to be seeing more and more AMG GTs with body kits and aftermarket hoods and giant wings trying to look like a Black Series, and I honestly don't blame them. This thing looks so darn cool. But as we travel through this tight little town, you notice how big the car truly is. What I like is it doesn't have an obnoxious amount of pops and bangs. It just happens every once in a while, in all the right times, and when it happens, it's a joyous moment. All right, we're gonna go ahead and shift into race mode right now. There's also an individual mode in case you want to customize all the individual things like throttle response and traction control and manual versus automatic, as well as the springs. But we are in race mode right now. And of course, it's starting to drizzle. This is just, I can't think of a better car to drive in the rain. Rear wheel drive, Cup 2Rs, 720 horsepower. That screams, drive me in the rain aggressively. However, the GT63 4-door Brabus version, that's probably a decent car to drive quickly in the rain because of its all-wheel drive. That thing looks absolutely insane. It has a full custom interior as well, 900 horsepower. Doesn't get much crazier than that for a daily driver sedan. Definitely a cool combo, this car and that one. Cool to see driving side by side and single file. I will say, for a big car with a lot of horsepower, it is confidence inspiring behind the wheel. Oh my gosh. I really do love this car. Oh, we got a nice Aston Martin. Oh, no. Wow. When he calls an A90 Supra an Aston Martin from afar, that is brutal. What do you think of the Supras?
I was highly disappointed when I drove one because it was far too heavy.
Yeah, a little heavy.
Like, just that killed it for me. It's a good concept, too heavy.
I think they could have done a better job with their suspension as well.
Basically, they should have built the car that they originally rendered.
Oh yeah, the FT1. Awesome. That thing is absolutely insane. Zach pointed something out, something that I almost never do in supercars, and that is take it out of race mode and actually put it into comfort mode like a civilized human being. And it doesn't actually get all that comfortable, nor that quiet. It still rides pretty hard, the engine is still pretty loud. This is not really something that you could daily drive whatsoever. I mean, you could if you're an absolute savage, but it's definitely rough. Oh, my favorite type of driving, bumper to bumper. I've only been in England for like 2 days and all of a sudden I'm talking, oh, bumper to bumper. Why am I doing that? Well guys, there you have it. I am in love with the AMG GT Black Series. Is it worth its MSRP at $330,000? Absolutely. To me though, at $550,000 to $600,000, I don't know. I don't think that I'd buy one for that price point. That being said, it is an unbelievably epic car, incredible on the track, sounds good, looks insane, and the interior is top notch. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next video.